Fireside Chats. Hello. I am one of your awesome hosts today, Adam Cook here with my better half, Tony Spain. How's it going, Tony?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Enjoyed the long break.
I know, it was good. Summer's here, without a mask.
Yes.
So take that, Dr. Fauci, you little gremlin, because now I'm walking around maskless, and it is wonderful. Everything is back to normal here in South Carolina. I don't know about the rest of America, but you know.
Yeah. I'm not sure what normal is anymore.
There is no such thing as normal anymore.
So.
Yeah. So you know what I never thought I would see is protests in Cuba. They are out in the streets marching for freedom and for an end to the totalitarian government. How are you feeling about that, Don?
Yeah, I never thought I would actually see something like that either.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed with some of the reaction from our government, from our politicians,
Yeah,
especially on the Democrat side.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's important to stand for liberty and
Right.
freedom when people went to protest.
That phone also agrees with you.
Of course it does.
So, yeah.
In the name of freedom.
In the name of freedom.
Yes.
Even the cell phones are for freedom. So.
But you know, it's interesting to me that it took Joe Biden almost an entire day to even respond to any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And in his response, there was no mention of liberty.
Yeah.
There was no mention of freedom.
Right.
It was just basically that we support the people of Cuba to demand what they should be getting from their government.
Right.
You know, which is basically was the outcome of it, or what he said.
Well, what's disappointing to me is that it's not shocking that they would do that, because that's where the Democratic Party is today. You know, it's like they want to bring up the embargo that we have against them, like it wasn't justified.
Right.
Like, when someone points nuclear weapons at you, it's one of those things you just can't forget it. You can't let that go.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and then they also try to tell us that, well, it's Cuba, it's irrelevant.
Right.
Which is not true. I mean, it's
Right.
very relevant. It's 80 miles off the coast of Florida.
Right.
I mean, so, and yes, and I'm glad you brought up the missiles, because, it's been a harbor for communism my entire life.
Yeah.
And they ally with all of our enemies throughout the world.
No matter who they are, someone like Muammar Gaddafi.
Right. Yeah. So.
Like that guy wouldn't, put a bunch of militants over there and send them 80 miles across the ocean to attack.
Right.
Probably would.
Yeah. I mean, so I think it's a very relevant situation.
When he was alive. Now he's dead.
And it's also interesting too to see that. So like the Cuban immigrants in Florida, they're all like supporting the protesters. I saw the mayor of Miami, I believe it was, that was actually saying that we should be considering airstrikes in Cuba.
I actually did hear about that, and believe me, the American me was like, hell yeah.
Right.
Let's go in there and blow some stuff up, Team America, World Police style. I was for it.
Right.
So I know what you mean. That's a very powerful community.
Now, right. Now, I don't think that's ever going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen with the Biden administration.
Not with the Biden administration.
I don't think it would happen with any administration at this point. I think we're just too worn out with war to even consider getting involved in some other
not right now
mess. So I mean, it doesn't. That does not seem to be an option. At
well,
this
what we
point.
could be doing is supporting them in every way possible.
Right.
But that won't happen.
Yeah.
In the same way we didn't support the Korean Revolution in Iran.
Right.
And we didn't support the protesters in Hong Kong. It's almost as if they don't care about freedom.
Yeah. And this creates a problem, though, too, for the Democrats, especially on the immigration side of the House.
Right.
Because for over a year, they've been crying, open the border, let all the immigrants from South America and Mexico to come on in,
But not if they vote Republican.
Right, but now we actually have a situation in Cuba. I mean, I don't know how much more of a situation you need that screams political asylum.
Right.
Right? And
won't do that.
they're basically saying, do not come here.
Right.
If you get on a raft to come here, you will not be let in.
Well, I mean,
So-
wait, you're telling me Democrats are hypocrites?
Right, yeah, I know. If they didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards, right?
Oh, I agree.
So, no, I mean,
So let all Hispanic immigrants in, unless they hate socialism,
right.
is basically how that's going. Well, that sounds pretty darn convenient, doesn't it?
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's as sad as, you hear about the Texas Democrats who fled to D.C. so they don't have to vote for voting, for rules on voting to make it more transparent
Mm-hmm.
and fair.
Yep.
And they don't want that because they're afraid it's an assault on democracy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, well.
Unbelievable.
Well, I don't know. Apparently they're sponsored by Miller Lite. Miller Lite is sponsoring this apparently.
Really?
They had a case of Miller Lite on the
Oh, okay.
bus as they were heading towards their plane. Because, you know,
Running from
it
the
is
law.
summer vacation, right?
Running
And-
from the law.
Yeah, you got to run from the law. And you might as well have a case of Miller Lite while you're doing it.
That's right.
So,
So I guess did they put out warrants for all of them?
yeah, they're going to get arrested when they come back
Yeah.
to Texas.
Yeah.
And so I could actually see Texas doing that. I mean, this is a place where they would literally execute.
Well, I think they should do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should because it's like, this is just a political stunt.
Mhm.
But they've already done it. This is the second time they've done it. So it's like, okay, you're just going to keep acting like this. You know, you need to cut off their funding and everything like that until they do what they're supposed to do.
Right.
I don't disagree with it. It's just, it's sad that, you know, again, this goes back to the same thing you're talking about. It's like Democrats ignoring the will of the people,
Yeah.
like again and again. You know?
Well, and I mean, and it's political grandstanding for the nationalization of elections. That's what the
Yeah.
actual goal is.
I don't even think, even if they passed it, I mean, it would get shot down in the Supreme Court. I mean,
Well, you would think it would.
even if, no, John Roberts, I know everyone thinks he's a squish, but I don't think the other five would.
Yeah.
I think they would vote it down, or rule it down,
Right.
or whatever they call it. Who cares? It's been a long time since my poli-sci classes. So, but yeah, I think it's yet another example of just, I mean, I think the Democrats know how weak their position really is.
Mhm.
They just have to keep feeding the progressive beast.
Yes.
I call it a beast because it's ravenous.
Well,
It
that's
can
why
never
they're-
be satisfied.
That's where their money's coming from at this particular point in time.
Right,
So
right.
they got to keep.
Right.
They got to keep that happy.
You got to keep it going. They are the Labor Party
Mhm.
of the United States of America, which is what's really funny. Which is why there's such a reaction against it. Like, did you see Eric Adams? Thankfully, somehow managed to win in New York City,
Mhm.
even with all that ranked choice voting and everything that they're trying to do to the country nationally. Just happened in New York City. And
Right.
why would we want that? I mean, he almost lost, even though he had like, I don't even remember what his advantage was, but it was double digits. He was ahead by double digits. It was at least 10%. You know, he was ahead in the vote. And he almost lost anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so fortunately the anger against all this stuff is too
Was that
much.
a primary or general?
It was the primary, but I
Okay.
mean, he's gonna win.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the Democrat,
Right.
so the Republicans not.
Yeah, I mean, there's no chance for a Republican to win.
Yeah, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
It's already gonna be him, but he almost lost the primary
Mhm.
because of all this kind of crap that the Democrats are trying to push on this country nationally.
Right.
You know, if we have ranked choice voting, maybe actually I should support it because maybe the Libertarian would finally win.
Maybe.
You know, I think I just
I'm
changed
very,
my mind right here.
I'm very intrigued about ranked voting, or what's it called?
Ranked choice
Ranked
voting.
choice. Yeah. Ranked
So
choice.
who's
voting.
your second and third
Right.
pick?
I've never
Yeah.
actually been anywhere that I've actually partaked in it,
Yeah.
or have seen it, in person. But it is an intriguing form of voting.
I would support ranked choice voting in athletics as well, because I might actually win. You know, so that's what I think that would be a good idea. You know, but I like the fact that Eric Adams is going to win
Mhm.
because he's the law and order candidate,
Yes.
and he's a former Republican apparently,
Yeah.
who now is a wolf in sheep's clothing when it it comes to the progressive wing of things.
Right.
He's there to get in there and devour it. And I hope he actually, I lived up there for 3 years. I hope everything turns around. I know it's kind of messed up. So I support him winning. I think it shows exactly how bad things are going with the liberal agenda.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really sad how.
I mean, it's
like,
a pretty good case study.
Yeah, like how bad things are going
Yeah.
for them because, I mean, if they get the infrastructure built at all, if they get that, I mean, it's only going to make things worse in 2022. And then if Trump gets reelected, that's their worst nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And they might make it come true because they're very good at that.
Well,
So
the attacks on him are already starting to
it's getting crazy.
ramp back up again.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, their ratings are down.
yeah,
Every
way down.
every
Way
network
down.
out there.
Yeah.
They need him,
Mm-hmm.
which is sad. It's sort of like I guess they're like I guess being a journalist or whatever. It's like being a heroin addict. He's your heroin. You need him so bad, even though you get uglier by the day. Your looks are fading
Right.
because you're a hardcore drug addict. You begin whoring yourself for money, just to get your fix.
A downward cycle.
It's a sad downward cycle. And then one day you OD on Trump. So that's going to be pretty interesting. I fear it though, just because he's not, if he gets reelected or elected again, if he gets elected again, he'll have no restraint on his power. And then he'll send the National Guard into Portland, Oregon and clear all of those people out.
Yeah, I don't know if he will. I don't know if he'll do that or not.
It wouldn't shock me if he did.
It wouldn't shock me, but I mean, I don't know. So when he ran the first time, my biggest fear was that he was going to do things with an iron fist and whatever.
Right,
and then it turns out that he didn't do any of that. In fact, in every chance that he had, he actually delegated power back to the states, or,
Right.
Or to wherever. So I don't know. I don't know that he might do it if they requested help.
Right.
But I don't see.
They're not going to request
I don't see
help.
Oregon requesting help.
Well, you heard it here first. Portland, Oregon is doomed.
Yeah.
It is going to
So
go
it'll
down
be like
It'll be
the
escape
mayor
from
of
Portland.
Chicago. Be like the mayor of Chicago who refused to let Trump help out any way whatsoever.
Mhm.
But
Now
now
she's
after the
asking.
4th of July weekend, she wants Joe Biden to send a National Guard to Chicago. So
Well, that's an admitted of defeat.
yeah. So
That's an admitted defeat if I ever heard.
again, more hypocritical with
The double
yeah.
standard Democrats.
That's right.
Because I love alliteration. So that's the way I look at it like that. I think everything is really messed up. And I think things are going to continue to get worse because over in LA they've reinstated, or they tried to. They tried to reinstate the mask mandate over in LA, I believe.
Okay.
And then I think the sheriff of the county said he was not going to enforce it. So, I mean, I look at it like that. I don't have to wear a mask at work anymore.
Mhm.
That's all I know. And I'm happy, believe me. Now everybody can see the beautiful smile on my face as I walk around without the mask.
Is it really?
Oh, it's a
smile?
beautiful, it's a
It's
smile.
not a frown?
It's not a frown. It's a frown turned upside down.
There you go.
So it's great, but now they're going to try to do it again in LA. I think it's just going to happen every time any disease pops up. They're going to try and reassert control in blue state cities everywhere, or at least LA
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And people will continue to flee the city. And then Arizona is going to get wealthier. Hopefully it doesn't turn blue,
Yeah.
it just turns purple.
Yeah, I never understood everyone always wants to leave where they came from, or what they built,
Yeah.
right? And then they don't
bring it
change their
there.
voting habits when
Right.
they leave. So it's like I'm fleeing New York because of the high taxes and whatever, and
Right.
I'm moving to Myrtle Beach. But now I'm going to vote the exact same way that I voted when I was
Right.
in New York,
Right.
which is for higher taxes and socialist programs. It doesn't make any sense
Well,
to
who
me.
knows? In 50 years, maybe those places will become hotbeds of libertarian thought, and we can move up there.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
It would be crazy, right? And
I'm okay with libertarian thought.
Either way, what we've now is official. Kurt Russell is going to be doing a sequel to his Escape series. Now it's going to be Escape from Portland, because they are going to devolve into chaos
Mhm.
and anarchy, and we'll probably just use it as a place to put all of our criminals. So, look, keep an eye out for that. It's headlines time.
All right.
All right. So, to anyone who might be new here, hopefully, to watching this show, This is the headlines part where I give Tony 4 fake headlines and 4 real headlines and 1 fake one. And he figures out which one is fake. Are you ready, Tony?
Bring on the fake news.
Okay. Number 1. Library apologizes for hosting rainbow dildo butt monkey to entertain children. Okay. Criminals disguised as cardinals arrested in Rome by undercover cops. Oh, excuse me. Criminals disgusted as cardinals. What the fuck? Okay, right. Criminals disgusted as cardinals arrested in Rome by undercover cops disguised as priests. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. I think I messed that one up when I wrote it down. Number 3, George Floyd mural blown apart by lightning strike, officials say. Okay. South Korean toilet turns excrement into power and digital currency. These are some really good headlines today. And then number 5, alligator finally bites off trainer's hand after lulling him into false sense of security. Got it?
Okay, let's
go through them all one at a time.
Right.
And then we'll decide if it was true or fake.
Okay.
Number 1, library apologizes for hosting rainbow dildo butt monkey to entertain children.
True.
That was true. Every single one of these, which is true, is going to be even more messed up than the fake one. So, number 2, criminals disgusted as cardinals arrested in Rome by undercover cops disguised as priests.
True.
That one is, unfortunately, true. Number 3, George Floyd mural blown apart by lightning strike, officials say.
I actually saw that one, so I know that was true.
Yeah, I figured that one would be too easy. South Korean toilet turns excrement into power and digital currency.
I can't believe that one, but it's probably true.
It's true. Which means the fake one that I wrote, because I'm so hilarious, is alligator finally bites off trainer's hand after lulling him into false sense of security. That one really seems like it could have been right up there with all of them. So, anyway, now it's that special time, and I do mean that in a sexual way. When we bring out our guests, would you like to introduce them, Tony? Because apparently I've already screwed up by making that joke. So just go ahead.
All right, so we have a leader of the community, Bobby Collier. He is back. He's been on the show before. So
Woo!
we welcome him back today.
All right, and here we go.
Adam,
Good to see
Colin,
you again.
good to see you. Thanks for having me on. Oh boy,
I know, right?
a lot of stuff is going on.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
I never thought I would live to see people act the way they act nowadays.
Is that not the truth?
I know, right?
And especially my own people.
What's going on there?
These young guys is shooting up the neighborhood.
Is that happening locally?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
innocent people getting killed. You know, heard about the execution in Chicago? A guy got shot 50 sometimes,
Jesus.
right in front of the police station.
I missed that one.
50 times?
50 sometimes.
That's wild. I knew there was a shooting on Elmwood and Park Street last week,
Yeah.
but I didn't get all the details on it.
The 15-year-old girl that they found out there in Lexington.
Yeah.
You heard about that?
No.
That was a couple of months ago.
Where is this in the paper and the news? Because
Three
apparently
people.
I have a very bad source feed.
Yeah, there's no local news. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the pizza joint just burnt down, and there was not a news story anywhere on it.
Wow.
You know, I mean, local news it's incredible. It's
It's
just
just stunk.
like non-existent at this point.
Yeah, I get a lot of news on the news break.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm subscribed to that, so it pops up on my phone.
Now, what is Newsbreak for? I mean, is that just like it? Does it just scan throughout all the news?
All the news, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's smart, Newsbreak and smart news.
Okay, so it's an app on your phone. Is that what it
It's
is?
an app on your phone to get
And see, that's probably why local news is so bad, is because now that's been taken over by an app too.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
you got all your big news conglomerates that have bought up all the local markets.
Right,
you know,
right,
so
right, yeah.
It's like when you go to WLTX or WIS or whatever, and you see a headline, you're like, oh my God! You click on it, and it happened in like, New Mexico or something.
Right.
And you're like, why is WIS putting stories up
About New
in
Mexico.
New Mexico?
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Well, how did that pizza joint burn down?
I don't know.
Awesome.
The only reason that I actually even know about it is because I went to go get a sandwich at Zesto's at about 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember what night that was now. Must have been Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember what night it was. Couldn't tell you.
Right.
But I went to go to Zesto's to get a sandwich, and Forest Acres is completely blocked off. And my first thought was like there was some kind of crime scene, like a robbery or something, whatever. But anyway, so I went and got in line at Zesto's, and I started smelling smoke, and I was like, it's like something's burning, and that's when I noticed it was fire trucks.
Oh, okay. You're talking about that place near the Kroger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then someone in line told me that the pizza place was burning, and I was like, yeah, it does smell like firewood and burnt pizza.
Well, forgive me for this, everybody, but talk about extra crispy.
All right.
You're welcome, America. You're welcome.
Did you hear about the guy that got shot right there at Sam's?
No.
Sam's Smoke Shop? Sam's Smoke Shop? Right
No.
There, right on 2 Notch.
No.
This guy got killed in that parking lot about 2 weeks ago.
I had not heard any of that.
Jesus Christ.
What's
I'm
going on?
really out of the loop.
Yeah, some
Oh,
guy that got into
that's
an argument outside the shop right there at Sam's. And boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
Yeah, he got killed right there in the parking lot. They had 2 Notch roads sort of shut down for me.
Yeah, the last time I had anything like that happen anywhere close to me was when I was living over off of Broad River Road. And there was an old hotel, which is probably still there, and it's probably still used as an area to squat for a lot of the local drug dealers or prostitutes or whatever. And some guy got into the wrong stuff and ended up in the KFC parking lot, ranting and raving and going on. They call the cops. The cops show up. He goes for the cop's gun, and they shot him, killed him. And that was like right up the road. I'm like, why are there so many cop cars around and everything? And then some of the local people told me.
That's amazing. It's like there's no value of life.
Yeah.
It's like we've all been dehumanized or desensitized.
Evolved, yeah.
Like, it's
Everything's
just,
evolving into chaos.
I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of the young black guys has become super predators.
Yeah.
Biden said something about that in 1996.
That's true.
Yeah, when he pushed that crime bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But I can't really go against that when you look at the crime in our community today. They have become super predators.
well, I don't know how
They
we
have no
fix it.
consideration for life. And and they're not giving their life for a good cause. It's either over a woman, okay, or drugs. Some type of beef, mostly domestic violence. Because the young black man today cannot be challenged. He do not want to be corrected. So you can tell him to pull his pants up. He's walking around with his dirty drawers showing. Right? You can tell him to pull his pants up. He won't shoot you.
That's definitely an overreaction.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because he don't have no respect for himself, but he don't want you to tell him that. That offends him.
How do you think it's gotten to that point?
A broken family structure.
Yeah.
You got kids having kids. All right. So who's raising the child?
Probably.
Nobody. The streets
Mhm.
end up raising the child. And the street is corrupted.
Mhm.
All right. So you got kids out here getting high, 10, 11, 12 years old. And
No,
drinking.
no moral compass or any sense of like right or wrong.
And it's a broken family structure. The average 80% of black kids right now are being raised by single parents.
80%?
80%. And,
Oh,
wow. And it's rising. And it's mostly the mother.
Mhm.
So you have what you call a beta male, B-E-T-A,
Okay.
that have adopted their mother attitude. They are emotional kids. Because a woman is emotional by nature.
Mm.
Okay, a lot of time a woman will react before she thinks.
And it is not a social construct.
So these young guys, they don't know nothing about this.
Right.
See, when we was coming up in
Oh, yeah.
the 50s, it was about this.
Well, I mean, even in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
I mean, my dad, I mean, he bought us boxing gloves and was like, he's like, go downstairs and fight it out. I'm tired, I mean.
No, that's gone.
Yeah.
Well, giving them boxing gloves is actually very enlightened. So your father was very progressive for his time.
That's true.
Giving them boxing gloves to wear.
Well, thank God you had you didn't have a broken family structure.
Right.
You had the mother and the father there. All right. Nowadays, these kids don't have a father.
Mm-hmm.
The father is either out here in the street somewhere jacking off, okay, or he's in jail,
Right.
or he's dead.
Right. That's a huge problem.
Okay. So the liability falls back on the mother. All right. And they're doing the best that they can, but they can't be the man and the woman. Something a man has to teach a child. When there's no masculinity in the home, okay, the child feeds off of the mother. See? So he actually adopts her, part of her behavior.
Right.
So what we have now is beta male, and beta males do not want to be corrected by a male because they never took orders from a man.
Right.
They don't know how to do that.
They don't know how to deal with it.
They don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
So when a man stepped to him, whether he's young
they
or
look at criticism from a male as a threat
Yeah.
versus actual criticism.
see, so when you step to him and try to correct them, all right, they resent that.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's smoke, and somebody got to die. See?
That's an interesting concept. I've never thought of it that way, or in that light. But there's a podcast. I wish I could remember who does it, but it's all about fatherhood. Every one of his podcasts is about fatherhood, and he's basically trying to honor fatherhood and saying there's an attack on fatherhood in America.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. I found it on Father's Day, ironically.
Yeah.
But I've been listening to a little bit of it. Like Matt McConaughey's on it, talking about his dad, and then how he's a father, and whatever. And there's a clip on there from Michael Irvin, who played for the Cowboys, and he was like, he threw out some statistics on there like that were just mind-boggling. Some of the stuff that you just said about the black community and fatherless being a problem, and gave high props to the guy doing the podcast and said, we need fathers in America.
We need fathers,
But how do you think that we solved it? I mean, what's the solution?
The Army.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
There's right now, It's it's repetitive. But you got kids having kids.
Right.
You see. So one thing has to be corrected is the sexual behavior. Because people that are having kids are not capable of being a parent. They really don't want to be a parent.
Right.
Right, yeah.
See, before you have kids, your mindset should be, do I want to have a parent? Do I want to be a parent?
Right.
All right. Am I capable of being a father or mother? Do you have the financial resources? Most of the time, they don't even have the financial resources. They don't even have enough damn money to pay the doctor bill.
Right.
That's why most kids are awarded by the state. Okay? Who's paying the doctor bill? And then we talk about reparation. Well, how many kids were born out of wedlock that the government paid the doctor to deliver the baby?
Right.
Millions.
Yeah, technically everybody's
Okay.
already getting their reparations. That's why I'm not.
Most of the people the babies are born now. They don't have $5,000 to $10,000 to pay that doctor to deliver that child, or that child have to stay in the hospital a week or so after birth.
Right.
Who's going to pay that bill? The government ain't paying that bill. See, you can't even feed the child because now you got to depend on WIC.
Right.
See, so they're irresponsible. They're not. A child should be planned for. Without a plan, you plan to what? Fail.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You see, so you got a lot of kids are being born to people that are not capable of being a parent.
Yeah, and then it just becomes a never-ending cycle of just
It's
repetitiveness.
right. It's
And
a
the rich,
cycle.
and then the rich subsidize that because it keeps them
Yeah.
poor.
80% of the black
Right.
men, 80% of the black men are in prison. There's over 1.5 million black men in prison today. All right. Over half of those men, maybe more, was born to a single mother.
Sure. Sure. It's been that way for a long
For
time.
a long time.
So there's actually someone that did a study on, or did an experiment on getting, it was like a ministry thing, but they provided Mother's Day cards, right, to all the male prisoners, and had a lot of success with it of getting them to write Mother's Day cards and whatever. And,
Right.
you know, and then they tried the same thing. It was like they worked so well for Mother's Day, they thought, well, let's try it for Father's Day. And it was like no interest hardly, you know. So.
Right. Right. When you go to trial with some of these guys that's done shot up the neighborhood and they're facing life in prison, you find most of the mother are there in trial, rather than the father.
Right.
See, so the backbone of our community right now, as far as raising the kids, is on the black woman, and they can only do so much. She got to work and try to raise a child.
Right.
So the child is unsupervised while that woman is at work. When she get off from work, she's tired.
Yeah, and I would also argue that that's not limited to the black community. I think it maybe.
You see it in the trailer parks too.
Yeah, I mean it's like an economical, wherever your social economic.
Well, this has been, everything being said right now has been said since at least the 80s.
Sure.
You know, or probably earlier on, and it's been called racist for 40 years to point out all of this, where it's like, look, yeah, there are problems in the community, but the problems in the community are not going to be solved by subsidizing it or by just letting it continue as is. That is the thing that needs to change for the black community to really reach its potential, right? That's what needs to change, all the things you're talking about. Because that's how the civil rights movement began. was in the 50s when you have these healthy, responsible communities where everyone's picking up the litter and they've got a regular job and they're raising their children and they're getting an education because of the GI Bill and all of that kind of stuff. You have all of the things necessary for the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
And so it starts in the churches, everybody gathers every Sunday and they organize. And like that, you had to have the conditions necessary for it. And then that's what has been lost.
Yeah, most of that's all been broken down. I mean, just
Right.
taken away
Right.
out of society.
Right.
And it may, I think it's been done by design.
By
personally,
the Democrats.
But
So,
I didn't say that. But.
I'm saying. And some Republicans too, the Democrats too.
Well,
Because-
well, I agree. Now, it was the Democrats that were knocking Martin Luther King them upside the head
Mhm.
Right.
when they were trying to get the civil rights
Right.
passed. The Democrats have been the biggest enemy of blacks.
Well, I mean,
Oh.
even up to today, because what I'm saying is
Yeah.
like the people who spread this idea of like, oh, go out and have as many
Yeah.
kids as you want to, just have
Yeah,
sex without worrying about
Yeah.
the consequences,
that was under
and the
Johnson
government will
administration.
government will come in
Yeah,
and subsidize that and become like the father.
right.
Right.
That was done under the
LBJ,
Johnson
yeah.
administration.
Right.
See, deregulation or desegregation
Mm-hmm.
was not good for us.
Mhm.
Really.
Okay, it broke our stride. We became more dependent on the desegregation. Okay, segregation was best because blacks and whites don't really get along that well, especially the northern whites. Now the
Okay.
southern whites, we get along good with southern whites because southern whites were used to having us around.
Right.
Okay,
That
so they
makes-
don't hate us that much.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm from the north, so I can understand.
Okay, I played with white kids, but I were a kid.
Right.
All right, I had a guy called J.W. Grooms out of in Berkeley County, out
Mhm.
around Cross, South Carolina. He's my best friend.
Right.
He treated me better than some of the black kids.
See, and
Did.
where I grew up, that was never going to happen.
Right,
Because there were just it
there was no
all
black
white
kid.
people
There was
all
no
the
black
time.
kids to play with.
Right.
Right.
I mean, that's just where I'm in
Right.
the middle of a cornfield in Illinois. I can see all the way to Kansas,
Right.
and I could drive all the way to Kansas and never encounter a black person.
right.
Right.
It's just, that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
I had
so-
to explain that to friends of mine in New York City where they were like, well, you just don't understand, it's so much more diverse up here. It's like, yeah, it's diverse, but people don't really, like, intermingle in the same way they do back home, where it's like, and, like, they all only interact at work in their professional life.
Mhm.
But they go back to their
Yeah.
neighborhoods where it's all the same group. They intermarry with each other. They don't really intermarry as much. Whereas, like, I can think of a couple of people just off the top of my head where they're involved in some form of interracial marriage around here.
Right.
You know, and so it's just, I mean, I don't know if I agree with the idea that things were better off under segregation, but I do understand what you mean, where it's like things where you actually had a vibrant and together community
Right,
that looked after each other.
right.
You know, like when I'm need to get back on doing that documentary with Sherry Jaco, but she talks about how the Olympia Mill Village community,
Mhm.
like you ate dinner wherever you were when dinner time came around.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, so come on in for dinner. Who you playing with? Well, they'll come in and eat too.
Nice.
So you
yeah.
eat at their place. Or people literally did leave their doors unlocked because they knew their neighbors.
Mhm.
They knew their neighbors, and their neighbors aren't going to do anything, and da da da. So it's like, I understand what you're saying. It's like a together community, you know, like, and that's something which has been lost.
That's been lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know I just moved, but I mean, I lived at the place I lived at before. I lived there almost 2 years, and I can't really say that I knew my neighbor.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? Which is, I mean, that is kind of unfortunate now when I think about it.
I live in an apartment complex where I don't want to know any
Yeah.
of my neighbors.
Oh, right.
You know,
right.
but
Right,
I hear
yeah.
you. I get what you're talking about. It's like, and that's
Yeah.
the thing which has been lost. And again, it's like this has been said since you know the 70s, it's like, or 80s or 90s. Like maybe the problem is something which can be resolved with more socially conservative values. You know, getting back to the traditional way of living and everything like that, and that's what will solve the problem. But then
Yeah.
people who are the most opposed to that are left-wing white liberals. They're the people who are opposed to that, like, on a fundamental level. And I still have to listen to them talk about how much I dislike black people because of my politics. And it's like, well, yeah, that should be like, someone should take a photo of you and put you right next to the definition of irony. Because it's like, you know, the funny thing is like everything you believe in as the left-wing Democrat is everything which is messing things up in every community. Doesn't matter how much melanin they have in their skin.
Yeah,
You know, so we need to get back to the old-time religion
maybe.
instead of this new secular religion.
Bring back the Sunday dinner.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, maybe you know, maybe that's what we need. Is a little less of the left wing of the Democratic Party.
Well, economics plays a large part in behavior.
Yeah.
Okay. And the problem with blacks is there's no economics.
Right.
Right. See. But we have to build economics. All right. Stop waiting on reparation.
Right.
Okay.
Economics can be built with just $1 a day, but it has to be unity among the overall majority of black people.
Right.
And that's what we don't have. All right. And there's so much distrust among us until I don't see it coming. There's power in numbers. Okay.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
The Hispanics are doing it. The Latinos are doing it. The Mexicans doing it. The whites have always done it. Old money passed down from generation to generation.
Sure.
Okay. Businesses passed down from generation to generation. Okay. Even though I might hate you, but we're gonna turn that dollar together.
Right.
All right. See. Put that animosity aside for right now, and let's make this money. We can't do that. We hold animosity. We'll take animosity to the grave.
Yeah.
Right. It's interesting that because it's been done, but it was never. It's never been consistent, I guess is what I'm trying. Okay, so, and I didn't even know about this until they started talking about the whole Tulsa thing with, like, from the
Wall
Right.
Street.
Wall
Yeah.
Street, the Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
I had never heard of the Black Wall Street a day of my life. I actually went and looked it up and read about it because that's what I do. I find something I don't know about
And you
and I
wanna
go
learn
and
about
I
it.
want to learn about it.
Yeah.
Right? And I found it fascinating that there was, this prosperous black community in Tulsa. You know, and like you said, they stuck together and that's how they built it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know. I never learned that. I'd never heard of it. I was never taught it. You know.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, how many more things are out there that I've never been, taught.
Well, I
or
told you
learned
about. I
or-
went to Savannah to shoot that
Right.
pilot, and I didn't know that a bunch of Haitian revolutionaries came up and helped us in the Revolutionary
That's
War.
right. Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Like they came up about 500.
Mhm.
I believe about 500 Haitian revolutionaries came up and fought.
Yeah, Durham and Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was was Black Wall Street.
Okay.
Okay, but it was toned down by whites. Okay,
Democrats.
because see, you got to understand. You got to understand
I slipped that one.
that we were brought here. Our ancestors were brought here for one reason,
Sure, slavery.
nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, we all know that. Everybody knows that.
They never wanted us to be a independent.
Community.
Right.
Right. So once we started making progress, they said, no, we can't have this. All right.
Right.
And the white man will never let any group surpass him. He don't give a damn who it is. He's not going to stand for that. He's not going to let no group surpass him. He's going to be the power structure, regardless. All right. When you start the momentum, he's going to find a way to break it down. In most instances. Well, it happened with us.
Okay.
But why can't we do it now? Why can't we build a Black Wall Street now? Black make more money. Right? There wasn't that many millionaires back then, if there were any, in the 20s.
Right.
They make more money now. They got better jobs now. So why can't we do a Black Wall Street now?
Well, I don't think it helps when you have the president that makes comments about black people don't know how to find lawyers and accountants.
Right.
You know, I mean, I don't
He's
think.
been saying.
But that's
like,
not true.
No, it's definitely not true. But I'm just saying, but he's been making those kinds of comments his entire
Yeah.
political career. Everyone wants to say, oh, well, he doesn't really know what he's saying.
Oh,
No, he knows
back
exactly
then.
what he's saying
He knew
because he's
back
been
then.
making these kind of statements
See, I
for
agree
over
with
40 years.
I think it would be good
But-
if they did like a Black Wall Street. I think that would be a great idea. But the reason it won't happen is because it will actually solve the problem.
I think well, yes, it will solve the problem, but I think the real reason I think it won't happen right now and is because the powers that be want to keep their power, regardless of race or what. It's,
Right.
And I don't know that it's more about race now. I think in the
It's totally
past,
about class.
I think in the past it was.
Mhm.
I think it's more about economics now, and that the people that have figured out how to get to the power structure they want to pin us against each other.
Right.
Right, so they're using race to pin us against
Right.
each other, but they're also using economics and class warfare to create an even bigger divide.
Right.
You know, so as long as they can keep.
I think it's always been like that. It's
Right.
just now.
Yeah, maybe it's more
It's always been like that, but now that we have actually advanced so far
Yeah.
on race, you notice that the people in charge are getting more and more angry
right.
because it's becoming more and more difficult to actually control the people by pitting them against each
Sure.
other.
Because if they can keep everybody fighting amongst themselves,
Right.
they will never gain traction to overpower me.
Right.
You know, so
Right. And that's why the scripture said a divided house
right.
will what?
Crumble
Fall.
or fall.
Yeah.
Okay. So long as the government can keep, it's like you said, the overall majority of the people against one another with politics,
Right.
religion,
Right.
sexuality,
Sure.
all right, and race, color. You see, as long as they can keep us fighting
That's right.
among each other, they will have the overall power.
That's right.
So
Because
they don't want the people to come together. They want me and you to be enemies.
that's right.
Mhm.
They use that fight to strip more and more
Right.
freedom away and take more and more power.
More power.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want proof of that, the only person who's unfortunately been good at uniting the races is an orange fat piece of crap from New York City. He's the one who's done the best job, and I say this as a never Trumper, but if he's the only one who can do it, we truly have lost our way as a country. So anyway, we're gonna have to move on now to the most awesome part of the show. You know all about it because you've done it before, my friend.
Okay.
It's called Who Would Win in a Fight. Okay, and we take two political figures from history And if they actually have something to do with each other, great. If not, whatever, I'm in charge. I do what I want. So today we have Theodore Roosevelt, known as Teddy Roosevelt, and Howard Taft. Okay, so who would win in a fight? You are the guest, sir. You get first pick.
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt.
Now, you're talking about the Roosevelt that came in after the Depression?
No, I'm talking about
Teddy.
Theodore Roosevelt, the one with the Rough Riders.
Spanish-American war hero.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say Roosevelt.
Why?
Because, I mean, he was a tough man.
He was tough. He was.
I mean,
He was the ultimate overcompensating alpha male back then. So yeah, I can see that.
I would say Roosevelt.
Roosevelt.
Mhm.
Tony, who you going with?
I don't know much about Taft other than
Me either.
was a very, very large man.
He was fat. He was
And
extremely fat.
got stuck in a bathtub.
He did.
Yeah.
He got stuck in a bathtub.
That's about the only thing I know about him,
Right.
unfortunately. I should probably maybe look more into it.
They were friends, and then he felt. Teddy Roosevelt felt Taft had betrayed him,
Okay.
so then
See, I don't know
he
any
sort
of
of
this.
betrayed Taft, and he did a third party candidacy when Taft was running for re-election. Taft was president for one term, and then he bled away a bunch of Howard Taft's votes, and then the other guy won.
How did he get stuck in the bathtub?
He was fat.
He was like
He was extremely
enormous.
He was like Henry VIII fat.
Yeah.
It was like late Henry VIII fat. Like,
Well, why would he get in the bathtub too little for?
I'm not really sure how that's, I just.
Somebody
I
had
mean,
to
it's
somebody put some
entirely
glue.
possible he was eating while he was in the bathtub and
Yeah.
gained a few pounds. And
I don't-
Adam, come on now.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, maybe when he got into the hot water, his body naturally expanded
Who
because
knows?
of the heat. I don't know. But he got stuck in a bathtub. He did.
Yeah.
So who do you think will win that?
Well, I'm a huge Teddy Roosevelt fan. So, and he actually has one of my favorite speeches of all time, "The Man in the Arena." So I'm going to go with Teddy Roosevelt. Although if Taft was to fall on him, I guess that can be detrimental.
Which brings up why I, the contrarian, am going with Howard Taft. Because I don't know if Teddy Roosevelt could have landed, like every shot he landed with a punch or kick, like it would sink into Taft. It would be like why we had the palmetto tree on the South Carolina state flag, because those cannonballs just sunk in to the very soft palmetto tree wood and did not explode. So that's why I'm going with Howard Taft, because all he has to do is charge that guy and land on top of him, and Teddy Roosevelt's neck would snap.
And all Teddy Roosevelt had to do was sidestep him and trip him, and once his big fat behind hit the ground, stomp Johnson time.
That's right.
But that doesn't mean that he wouldn't still be able to get back up unless he was.
No. A fat person, once they fall, all right, was he over 300 pounds?
I think he was. He got really big.
Well, I know people that at fault fell. My sister was about 400 pounds, and she fell in the front yard sometime.
He couldn't get up.
She couldn't get up.
Oh, wow.
If they can't find nothing to hold on to
Yeah.
pull themselves up.
Yeah.
So
They
you
can't- they
say
can't get up.
Howard Taft would be waddling like a turtle, and he wouldn't be able to.
No, he wouldn't be. He wouldn't be able to get up. And all Roosevelt had to do it's called Stump Johnson.
Right.
You ever met Stump Johnson before?
No.
Stump Johnson. Is these things right here.
Tripping. So you're thinking,
Ass thumping.
Heel to head.
well, I mean, maybe Howard Taft wouldn't miss though. Maybe he was maybe if he got trained by a sumo wrestler.
Maybe.
Fat people can't run.
I've seen fat people run. I've seen them run.
I've seen big people run. I don't know about fat people.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying I've ever seen a fat person run very far,
Okay.
but I have seen one
Gotcha.
run.
And all you had to do was move on him and stick him.
Well,
Okay, right in the face. Don't try to hit him in the body.
this is-
Okay, hit that head.
I'm going with Howard Taft
All right,
because
okay.
screw you guys.
That's right.
You know, that's why I do it. And also because I, am putting on weight. And also it was kind of funny, I'm thinking like Howard Taft, he went on to be a Supreme Court justice after he lost re-election.
See, I didn't know any of that.
And so I
really don't know
I
much
bet
about
if
that.
you found his Supreme Court robe, you could like make several dresses out of that. Because that's got to be a lot of material. Because it covered up his entire body. So you could make a lot of beautiful flat dresses out of that. Or I could just wrap it around me and pleasure myself.
And with
Which
that,
is how
we leave you
we're
with
gonna-
a moment of inspiration. See
There
you
you go.
next time.
All right.
Kevin Grant is South Carolina's Class 2A state wrestling champion at 145 pounds. Last week, he was named the most outstanding wrestler at the individual state championships in Anderson. His dedication and intensity on the mat is evident. For someone who has accomplished what few in sport can achieve, he's humble, and he doesn't feel the need to make a big deal about what he's had to overcome to become a champion.
I was born with one leg. That's all I lost, from the knee down.
Grant was 37-5 in his senior year and had to come from behind in his final high school match to win a state championship. It only seemed fitting that he had to overcome one more obstacle to end his career on top.
It's very, very wonderful. I mean, it's very wonderful. I can tell you that. I'm lost to words. It's very wonderful, though. I can tell you that.
I don't really see Kevin as one leg. I just see him as the great wrestler that Kevin is. What Kevin does on the mat, he does that nobody really else does. Is that he out-wrestles you.
In 2011, Anthony Robles, a one-legged wrestler from Arizona State, became an NCAA champion. It inspired Kevin to chase excellence on the mat.
I showed Kevin some clips on the internet in my office of him wrestling, and that's what really got Kevin motivated to come out for wrestling.
Now it's Kevin Grant who's become a role model and hopes that he can inspire others.
He's truly an inspiration to all kids out there that, you can do anything, as long as you give it your all, as long as you have heart and you put everything in Christ, and, everything will fall in path.
There's one thing you can't have, and Kevin has. You can't coach heart. He's got one of the biggest hearts on the team.
Set a goal, accomplish it, and never let anybody stop you from doing what you got to do. No matter what the situation is, just keep trying, work hard, and good things happen.